Lioden's big draw is the fact that these big cats are highly customizable and the lions are as unique as the user base is. This same asset is hard to showcase off-site because of the very factors that make it possible. Back in the Lioden game interface thoughts video, I suggested a thumbnail of the active lion on the sidebar of each page. Since I proposed this idea, I've been thinking about it a lot and what it means from a practical perspective. I'm unclear on the specific technical requirements, but have a vague understanding of how the process works from what I've heard, from what I've discussed with game designers, and from my basic understanding of web design. Let's talk why that little thumbnail, that flat image of a lion, isn't currently feasible, the possible benefits from making this work, and some ways to overcome it. A little bit of background. The lion image is not static. What you're actually looking at is many images stacked on top of each other. You may have noticed this before if you're loading the page and it looks like the different elements are coming in at different times. You may have somewhat flat lion, then all of a sudden there's shading and line art. That's because the lion image is made of over 10 layers of stacked images of varying opacity. Each of those images represents either the marking, the line art, or a coloration of the lion, and it's set to the opacity that the marking is at. So if you have a lower opacity marking, then that image layer reflects that opacity when it generates. These 10 plus images are pretty big. This overall image when it comes together is like 540 times 600 pixels. It's a large image. And even the profile image is built this way, that little thumbnail square of the lion. Because it's made this way, it's not easy to render not only smaller, but across the website in a place where there would be more than one showing up. You can't have multiple lions displayed on a page. It won't load fast enough. It's not good web design. That's why we don't have it that way. That's why that little thumbnail of an alpha lion on the sidebar is not a practically feasible process right now. But I want to sell you on the idea of sludging through the work to make it possible. Humans are very visual creatures. Facebook and Instagram are all about this. They rely heavily on images. I joined Flight Rising after seeing pictures of the dragons shared on Tumblr. Like I was minding my own business over on the Neo tag, and all of a sudden these beautiful dragons started rolling in, and I was like, I want that. I loved that art. The Lioden lion is a customizable creature with a ridiculous amount of visual levers a person can pull to make the sparkle lion of their dreams. You can make some pretty dope lions. I'm really proud of the lions that I've made, but sharing them isn't super easy. A flattened image could be embedded across the website into the cave illustrations, thumbnails, and even on a lion cave page that would show all of your lions, or more than one at once. I know other games benefit from users being able to spend time admiring their creatures. It drives affinity to the site and could establish a sense of pride over your pride. People have a strong sense of attachment to their customized lions and want to share them. Being able to easily copy, paste, save, remix, and upload a lion is a great way for users to advertise the game and exert ownership over their interest. If I show a transparent lion in a video, or basically anywhere, or in general just with a different background, it's a daunting task. Let me show you what you have to do in order to get a transparent, flat line image with the current system. Sharing and remixing these lions is not an easy task. Yet these are some of the best ways to advertise the game. The best way for these games to grow is by word of mouth advertising, and people can't do it if they can't access the very assets that draw them to the game. You want to make the burden of sharing the game as low as possible. Facebook generates pictures from web pages when you make posts linking to those pages, meaning that a lot of singular layers of line images get posted to the Facebook groups I'm in. Could you imagine if that were instead an actual picture of a lion? That's a free advertisement that people want to share. People want to brag about their cool lions to their friends who don't play Lioden. And when the thumbnail to the link is like a shadowy portion of a lion mane, that's not a super appealing thumbnail that people want to click on. But if it was a really cool sparkle lion, maybe people want to do it. I honestly believe that there is more to gain here than there is to lose. And if that's the case, then why doesn't Lioden already flatten the images? How come this isn't rolled out across the entire website? Well, the images are large and can be flattened in the backend, but it'll take up a massive amount of server space. Instead of only layer images saved backend, like having that marking saved once and then every line that uses that marking pulling it up, each new unique line will have large unique pictures generated when the line is rolled. So what this means is that not only do you have the illustration of modeled rosette out there, but when a line that has modeled rosette comes around, you make a whole new picture using modeled rosette as one of the elements in it. When a lion changes their life stage, the image needs to regenerate, and this whole regeneration thing, when an element of the picture is changed, that's what I mean when I say a roll. So like a re-roll is that the image has to get generated again because part of it changed. If any lion aspect is changed, like a marking is added or taken away, it needs to be re-rolled. In short, this would take up a lot of data, and storing that data would be expensive and drain back-end resources, because these microprocesses pulling up that re-roll, that takes server space as well. It becomes an expensive process. But we're not inventing the wheel here. There are other games that use similar processes. So let's ask ourselves, if we were going to look at a case study, what other games do this and how do they do this? So Flight Rising, it's the most obvious example. Flight Rising has less layers and smaller images. That's step number 1. Flight Rising flattens the image and saves it to the Dragon ID number. And new images are only generated when a roll happens. Granted, there are much fewer rolls with Flight Rising. There's only 2 big ones, when the dragon is hatched and is a baby, and then when the dragon becomes an adult. Lions are a little bit more intricate. You might add more markings more often. Flight Rising, you're not really messing with that every day, but a power user on Lioden may be changing their lion's markings more often. The refresh icon that's on the dragon layer page, that little refresh icon in the top right, that's an artifact from when Flight Rising had users manually re-roll the images. I've only had to use it once or twice since they've changed to a different web platform, but basically the way it would work is when it was time for your baby dragon to become an adult dragon, you would have to manually press that refresh button to generate a new image. That's how Flight Rising approaches this. Apparently they've figured out a magical way back end to finance this storage space. How would Lioden implement this? What kind of strategy would be able to make this happen? First, I would say that Lioden needs to figure out how much of an actual inconvenience this would be. How often are how many images re-rolled? Is there a small group of power users doing a majority of the re-rolling? I know that I'll go months without adding markings to lions. I think this is a real consideration that you have to work through. How often are how many users doing this? Because if this is a perk that users need to buy into, only a small portion of those users would be financing this for the rest of the community, and vice versa. If just a small community is re-rolling the pictures more often, then I believe that's an easier thing to tackle and to work through. This feature doesn't have to be released everywhere at the same time. You're allowed to make incremental rollouts and test the waters. Like the cup stages, this could be an optional paid feature to gauge the usership support. That would be a great way to test it. Or maybe only allow it for alpha lines at first, and only one image generation roll a day or maybe even a week. So if you change your markings and you've already done it in the last day, then maybe the image doesn't re-roll yet. Maybe you have to pay each time you want to re-roll the image. or maybe you have to buy the feature for each lion in your lair. Once people see how useful it is to be able to save a lion's image quickly or assign an image to a cave or have an image in the sidebar, people will buy the feature like crazy. At the very least, I know personally I would love to be able to pay 50 silver beetles or even 1 gold beetle to generate a flattened image on demand. I just want to be able to use this asset off-site. I love being able to take this picture and putting it in thumbnails and videos, and honestly, I would pay silver beetles or gold beetles, which is the pay-for currency, in order to do this quickly and easily. Listen, people love this game and they want to share it. I think it's worth testing the waters to see if it helps bring in new users or as a gateway activity for people to put real-life money into the game. I would be willing to bet some money that this would be a successful venture if Lioden tested it. If you want to provide some technical logic in the comments on this task, please do. How would you approach this? I think solutions to this maybe problem are much more interesting than reasons why I'm wrong. The Lioden team is amazing at taking feedback and considering different opinions on site direction, and I love the heck out of this game. I hope this does not come across as me forcing an idea or perspective on anyone. Speaking of me providing a perspective to a different channel, I recently did a collaboration with Frederick Knudsen on his series Down the Rabbit Hole. Check it out here. His channel explores the background and human history behind cultural phenomenon. If you like my archival work, you'll love his. Thanks for watching. Bye!